Hey, second grade! Welcome back to Module B, Unit 2. Today is Lesson 2. Yesterday, we started reading about historical events. Remember, historical events are important things that happened in the, what? Can you say it? Past, that's right. Things that happened in the past that are important. And we're reading about historical events that are important to our country. We learned yesterday that when writers write about historical events, they can tell us about the ideas and connect them in special ways. Yesterday, we learned that sometimes the ideas can be connected in time order words, like what happened first, what happened next, and what happened last. Today, we're going to learn that they can be connected in another way. Sometimes historical events can be connected by using problem and solution. I like to go like this when I say problem because it helps me remember that a problem is something difficult that I have to try to get past. So a problem. And then a solution, I put a little check mark like, oop, got it figured out. Because a solution is just another way to say that the problem was solved or fixed or they overcame their challenge. Can you read our goal with me today? I can describe the connection between a series of historical events by identifying problem and solution relationships. Here's the article we're going to read today called The United States Constitution. You probably have a copy at home with you if you have your supplies from school. If not, you can follow along on the screen. If you have your copy, I want you to read along on your own because it's really important that our eyes get practice reading on the text and not just on the screen. We've already done a little bit of reading about the writing of the Constitution. We know that it's an important historical event in our country because it's when they put down the first set of laws our country was going to follow. So today we're going to read about this historical event, and then we're going to think about how the ideas are connected. Okay, follow along either on the screen or on your paper, and let's read this together. The United States Constitution. The United States Constitution is the highest law in the nation. It has laws Americans have lived by for over 200 years. I want to stop and talk about this, the highest law in the nation. That doesn't mean that it's the highest up on the shelf and people who are short like me can't reach it. When they mean the highest law in the nation, they mean that this is the most important law in the nation. All the other laws are based off the Constitution. And if anybody has an idea for a law, they always have to go back to the Constitution to see if it's a law that is okay. Let's keep reading. In 1787, some Americans did not like how their country's government worked. They sat down to write new rules for the government. Two of the men were Ben Franklin and George Washington. You may have heard their names before. It was a long, hot summer. Sometimes they did not agree. They had to work hard to solve those disagreements. They worked together to create laws everyone could agree on. They called what they had written the Constitution. Well, doesn't that sound familiar? Sometimes we have problems like that in our classrooms, don't we? Where we disagree and we have to come together and make a way that we can agree on something. I think that might be a problem. Let's keep that in our mind. To become a law, 9 out of the 13 states had to agree that they wanted the Constitution. Some of the states didn't want to approve the Constitution. They did not think it protected important rights. Congress and the states agreed on 10 amendments known as the Bill of Rights. The Bill of Rights protected rights like the freedom of speech. After 3 years, all states finally agreed to approve the Constitution. There's a couple of ideas in that paragraph I want to talk about before we answer some questions about this. Did you hear where it said 9 out of 13 states? I know some of you went, wait a minute. We have 50 states. I think that's a mistake. Actually, it's not. Remember, we're reading about historical events, things that happened long ago. Well, when the Constitution was written, our country was very small. It only had 13 states. And so if they wanted to pass the Constitution, 9 of the states had to vote to agree with it. And that's what it means when it said approve the Constitution. That means they had to agree with the Constitution and say, yes, I promise to live by that. But not all of them agreed to approve it. because they thought it was missing some important rights, like the freedom of speech. It didn't actually say in the Constitution that everyone had the right to say what they wanted to say. So they had to go back and fix it with the Bill of Rights and make sure that all of the people's rights were protected in the Constitution. Once they did that, then the states finally agreed to approve the Constitution. All right, on the next Nearpod slide, you're going to have a time to climb. And I know you're really familiar with that right now, but in case we have any new friends joining us, let me give a little bit of explanation. On the next Nearpod slide, you're going to get to choose a character. And then your character gets to answer 3 questions. I'm going to tell you what they are now, but you're going to have to read them on your own. Every time you answer a question right, your character gets to climb the mountain. Are you ready? Here's the questions you're going to be asked. What is the Constitution? Why was it created? And how did the Constitution become the law of our land? Listen again. What is the Constitution? Why was it created? And how did the Constitution become the law of our land? On the next Nearpod slide game, you're going to answer those questions, and then we'll practice our reading strategy for today.